What's good, everyone? OJ here. Welcome back to another video. Today we're talking about the 20 best Nintendo Switch action games. Now, this was a really hard list to put together because I kept on wanting to put action RPGs in the list, and we're gonna have a whole separate video for that. But in this video, I wanted to kind of hone in on the games that kind of personify action in general and more of the action platformer or pure action games. So you're going to see a lot of games on this list that have those properties and something separate for best action RPGs. Now, once again, I've taken a little bit of liberty with this, guys. There might be some games on here that aren't necessarily in that pure action category, but incorporate a lot of elements. But I wanted to go over some of my favorite ones, what I think is the best as we head into the holiday here, with many people picking up the Nintendo Switch maybe for the first time and want to pick up some games maybe that they missed out on. Now, with all of that out of the way, let's go ahead and jump right into it. And we're starting off with the first game, and that is Katana Zero. This is an independent game that actually won a number of awards back when it released. It's a really stylish, fun action game that makes you think about actually what you're doing and what you're playing. The vibes are just incredible. The narrative is really good. I highly recommend Katana Zero as easily one of the best independent games on the platform, but also one of the best action games on the platform as well. Now, next up, we have a triple pack of incredibleness, and they have varying levels of success when it comes to what people think about them, and that is No More Heroes, No More Heroes 2, and No More Heroes 3. This is Travis Touchdown's trilogy of games all brought to the Nintendo Switch, and they kind of all play a little bit differently, but with the same base of, oh my gosh, bloody action game, intense bloody action game that's really all about the punk style of this otaku Travis Touchdown, going around killing aliens, killing people, killing all sorts of stuff across his adventures on the Nintendo Switch. Now, this game originally started out on the Nintendo Wii, the first one and the second one, and then the third one came out on the Nintendo Switch, and it's also with the third one on the PlayStation and Xbox recently. I highly recommend No More Heroes 2. That is my favorite one out of all of them because you have all sorts of different types of different beam sabers and stuff that you can get. I felt that it had the best content, it had the coolest mini games, so I think No More Heroes 2 is definitely the must play out of all of them, but you should play all three games because they're all really good. Now, next up is Dust: An Elysian Tale. This is one of those underrated, smaller, independent style of games that's actually big on the action and really fun platforming, great art style, really cool, slick controls. I had a ton of fun playing through Dust: An Elysian Tale, even though it took me like 10 years to get it from limited run games. But I had a ton of fun with this game, and so much to the point to where I still even remembered it to this day, even though I played it years ago. Dust: An Elysian Tale is a really good action game on the Nintendo Switch that all action fans should definitely check out. Next up is Darksiders and Darksiders 2. I do really like the Darksiders games, then I will admit that Darksiders 2 is not my favorite, but Darksiders 3 I didn't even include on this list. But Darksiders 1 is absolutely incredible, and Darksiders 2 is good. I still think that they're two of the best action games on the platform, but you gotta check out Darksiders 1. I think Darksiders 1 is this really cool blend of them trying to be like Zelda, then have their own, Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse story, and it's told really well. The upgrades are good, the platforming sections are fun, the combat is fluid. It's actually a really solid port on the Nintendo Switch, so I highly recommend Darksiders 1 and Darksiders 2 on the platform. Now, next up is Kirby and the Forgotten Land. This is platformer, action, bit of both, a lot of fun, a lot of awesomeness. I love Kirby and the Forgotten Land. We got the news that Kirby and the Forgotten Land is now the best-selling Kirby game of all time on the Nintendo Switch, and it makes perfect sense because this game absolutely rocks. I love the different powers that you can get. I love the visuals. This game looks absolutely magnificent on the Nintendo Switch OLED. I mean, people talk about graphics and polygons and all of this, man, but an incredible art style and some great colors and some ingenuity when it comes to how the visuals are presented can do favors, especially on the brightness and contrast of the Nintendo Switch OLED. Kirby and the Forgotten Land has some amazing platforming parts, amazing action parts, really good replay value, lots of really fun powers that you can upgrade and take to challenges and just have a ton of action and fun with it. So I have to recommend Kirby as one of the best action games on the Nintendo Switch. Now next up is Luigi's Mansion 3, and I was wondering exactly where I was going to put this game or if it would even end up in my list, but I kind of had to put the game in here because Luigi's Mansion 3 still to this day is a technical marvel on the platform. I mean, go back and look at that game. Kirby and the Forgotten Land, that's an amazing looking game, but Luigi's Mansion kind of took things to the next level all those years ago, back like, what was it, 2019, 2020? Probably think it was 2019, and it still looks incredible to this day, but the gameplay is really good too. Now, I'm not as big of a fan of some of the backtracking and some of the stuff that they do in the game to kind of pad the length of it, but I still feel that what you do in that time period of the quality hours of the game is still really good. I love Luigi's action in the game. I mean, it's so cool to suck up the ghosts, slam them, do different types of abilities, and kind of just get by. Just using it in the game is just fun, and exploring and getting coins and everything. So Luigi's Mansion is one of those games that really brought me to the Luigi's Mansion franchise. I mean, I did play the original game and I thought it was very fun, and I played, you know, Dark Moon, but Luigi's Mansion 3 is probably my favorite one out of all of them. I think that it has a great multiplayer action game mode as well that works a lot better than you would expect. There's local multiplayer as well. This is a complete package from online to single player for a game that was significant when it comes down to it, and it resulted in the sales 10 million plus with this game. So Luigi's Mansion makes it on my top 22 best Nintendo Switch action games. Next up, Streets of Rage 4. Oh man, it's so good to have Streets of Rage back. This was something that I played so much back in the day. I used to go to my friend's house to play the Sega Genesis with Streets of Rage 1 and Streets of Rage 2, and then they've continued it on. We're all the way on Streets of Rage 4, and this game is every bit as good as the previous games, if not a lot better. I mean, a ton of quality of life options. You have online multiplayer built in there. You got a great story that carries over with some of the previous characters and the kids as well. It is a full, real Streets of Rage game that just feels good to just beat the crap out of people in this game. I love it so much. Streets of Rage was a big part of me playing video games back in the day as that pure 2D action brawler out there, and now we have Streets of Rage 4 for a new generation and fans alike. But there's one game that I feel that even tops Streets of Rage 4 in this beat 'em up sector, and that's the next game on this list, and that's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge. This is probably the best beat 'em up game that I've ever played. Out of the old school action beat 'em ups, I mean, I've played pretty much all of them. You know, you've got TMNT, the arcade game. I think that one is definitely up there with Streets of Rage and everything, but Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge takes things to the next level. It has just a crunchingly satisfying combat system. I love what they've done with some of the upgrades, and it's just really fun to use April or Master Splinter or Casey or the Turtles to just beat the crap out of things and replay missions and go through. It's excellently paced, it doesn't overstay its welcome, and maybe it ends a little bit too early. It's kind of short, but in that time period, the hour, 2 hours, however long it took me to beat the game the first time through, I've never had as much fun with a beat 'em up game. So Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge absolutely is one of the best Nintendo Switch action games out there. Next up is Dead Cells on the Nintendo Switch, and man, this game has went through a few things when it comes to major controversies and also the game just kicking butt. It's awesome. Dead Cells is one of those games where, look, it's a rogue game. People know, or at least if you don't know, now you're gonna know. I'm not a huge fan, but Dead Cells made me play and play and play it and also hate it at the same time, but also love it at the same time. It was definitely a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde thing with this game because I wasn't used to rogue games, and Dead Cells was definitely one of those games that got me into it to talk about this next game that we're going to discuss, and that is Hades on the Nintendo Switch. Once again, another incredible action rogue-like type of game, and this to me is the best indie rogue game, but also one of the most incredible action games. I was absolutely like enthralled. I was locked in, and the amount of powers, the abilities, what you do in this game, Hades, is incredible. I love the mythology of the characters and everything, how you get blessings from the gods. It was one of those games to where, yes, I wasn't a rogue game guy, but this game actually got me to beat it multiple times. I've never beat a rogue game more than once and replay it over and over, but Hades is where all of that changed as an action rogue game, so I had to include it on my list. Next up is Mega Man 11 on the Nintendo Switch, and yes, this game necessarily isn't the best Mega Man game out there. It's not the best action platformer out there, but it's got a lot of heart. I think the developers, with the limited amount of time and budget that they were given, made a really good game here with some colorful visuals and great gameplay. The level design here is underrated a little bit. This game is a lot better than what people thought it was. If you go back and play it right now, maybe yes, you're not gonna forget Mega Man X and Mega Man X2 and X3 and some of the better Mega Man games out there, but it's not as bad as people think it is, and I think it's definitely one of the best action games out there. I mean, just the style of Mega Man and the powers and the abilities was fun to go through, and the speedrunning community for this game was pretty in-depth as well. It was very entertaining to watch people go through and just absolutely kill it in Mega Man 11. And yes, the score isn't the highest on this game, but I still feel that Mega Man 11 is one of the best action platformers that you can get on the Nintendo Switch. Next up is Hollow Knight, another one of these Metroidvanias action games that I absolutely love. I mean, Hollow Knight kind of really tells me that the developers, when they were making this game, they were saying, yeah, we're a Metroidvania, but we're going to be something a little bit better. We're going to be something pretty fast. We're going to be something sleek, and we're going to be something that really captures the minds of gamers out there and keeps them playing and also waiting for Silksong for so long. But getting back to Hollow Knight, when I first picked up this game all those number of years ago, I didn't expect that I'd like it as much as I did, but that's how much the game really hooks you in with the characters and the atmosphere and the art style and the controls. Everything just flows. You feel like it's silk or like it's butter when you're playing the game. You intrinsically react with the really fine-tuned and precise controls. I think that the hit detection and the gameplay is so much on point, even better than major action games out there. So with all of that, we had to include Hollow Knight on my list of best action games on the Nintendo Switch. Next up, we've got another double pack on the system here, and that is Ori and the Will of the Wisps, and also Ori and the Blind Forest Definitive Edition. Now, I'll be 100% honest, like always with this. These are two of the most finely crafted action platformers, Metroidvanias, that you can play. If you have not played Ori and the Will of the Wisps, in addition to Ori and the Blind Forest Definitive Edition on the Nintendo Switch, I don't know what to tell you. If you're looking for an incredible action game to play, there's double packs out there that you can pick up physical, you can buy them digital, they've been on sale multiple different times. These games really make you feel like you're playing the old school Castlevania, like the old school Metroid, and putting it together, but also adding its own new coat of paint with spectacular visuals and its own story that will kind of tug at your heartstrings just a bit. These two games are incredibly good. They're very polished on the Nintendo Switch, run great, which is something that a lot of the games on this list really are, but these two games are absolutely incredible. They look stunning on the Nintendo Switch OLED and play absolutely great. The same silky smooth controls and precise movement and great action gameplay that persists throughout these lists here is apparent and the epitome of what Ori and the Will of the Wisps, in addition to Ori and the Blind Forest Definitive Edition, are. So I highly recommend them, and they're absolutely two of the best action games on the Nintendo Switch. Next up is Super Mario Odyssey, and I know platformer, I didn't put other Nintendo Mario games on there, but Super Mario Odyssey has so many action elements to it, turning into bullet bills, and you've got the different types of abilities that you can get. I mean, it plays like it, and I had to include it. We haven't talked about Super Mario Odyssey on this channel in a long time, and we need to include it into something here. So it's going to be included into this video because this game is absolutely incredible. I feel that there really isn't anything inherently wrong with the game. The controls are absolutely incredible. The gameplay and variety is good. Maybe there's a little bit too many moons and the repetitiveness there, but if you're just playing the game straight up to have a good time, I think it took me about 20 hours to beat the game for an action platformer. That is really good. There's a lot of content if you want to go back into it, and the visuals still to this day are kind of like the best when it comes to action platformers and everything. I don't think I've seen another game that looks better graphically than Super Mario Odyssey, with the textures and also with the art style, the color. Even if you play it on Nintendo Switch OLED, it looks incredible and just controls like butter as well. The movement that Mario has combined with the action and the gameplay just creates a Super Mario experience that we've never seen before until now with Super Mario Odyssey. So that's why it's one of the best action games on the list. Next up, we've got a triple pack of games. That is Bayonetta, Bayonetta 2, and Bayonetta 3. This is pure action at its finest. One of the best franchises of all time. And really, when I was thinking about what I should do for action games, this game came to my mind first. This was the first game or franchise that came to my mind, the Bayonetta games, because that's what it is, a pure action game. And you've got three of the best of all time, in my opinion, with Bayonetta 1, Bayonetta 2, and Bayonetta 3. They all kind of do something differently that really make it stand out from one another, with the same general gameplay, but things that just make it stand out. Like, okay, wow, Bayonetta 1 did witch time great, did the abilities great, it was fun like with the areas and locations, that was pretty cool. Bayonetta 2 took that base and said, okay, we're gonna take that up to like notch 10. We're gonna skip 1 through 9, then go all the way to 10 with the abilities and things that you can do in that game. In addition to co-op online multiplayer that connects with the single player, it was awesome to go through. Then Bayonetta 3 has came out recently, and that game adds these huge demon slaves that you can fight right there at any point on your control or comboing with you, that just create a new different style of gameplay, in addition to other characters like Viola that play different from Bayonetta. So it's a really cool experience between all of these games. The controls are great, the gameplay is fun, everything is really precise, the mini games are fun, especially with Bayonetta 3 and Jean and her side quest that she does. So I had to include all of these three games as some of the best, but I highly recommend all of them on the Nintendo Switch. They're phenomenal action experiences. Last but definitely not least is probably the supremo top action game in my opinion, along with Bayonetta, and that is Metroid Dread. I mean, I'm gonna have to spend a little bit of time on this game because everyone needs to go out there and pick up Metroid Dread. To me, when I first started playing back in the NES and I played Metroid and we all found out that Samus was a girl instead of a boy, I didn't even see it that way. I didn't even see it like, oh, that's this. What I saw was, this is the thing that I'm going to be playing. This game, this franchise, I'm gonna be playing this for a very long time. There's gonna be more of them, there's gonna be different systems, and I'm gonna be playing them probably till I croak. And at this point, this is now what, more than 3 decades later, I'm still looking at Metroid and looking at Metroid Dread and saying, this is incredible. This is just as good. Back all those years ago when I was little when I played it, it's just as good, if not even better than it's ever been. And that is incredibly hard to do for an old franchise. This is something that you just don't see. Franchises that were good all the way back then are pretty much all dead at this point, with the exception of Nintendo's games. Pretty much there's like nothing from back then that's still even relevant, or at least as good as it was. But Metroid is one of those franchises, and with this game, Metroid Dread completely erased some of the stuff that we got before that was very divisive with certain things, completely eradicated all of that and brought Metroid, Samus, Metroid Dread, this game, back into the forefront as easily one of the best action games that I have ever played. Now, it's been a long time that I can sit here and say that, yo, I think that this game is better than Super Metroid in the Metroid franchise. I mean, I don't even do that with the Prime games. Even when I originally played Metroid Prime, I felt that Super Metroid was better. But Dread is the first game since then that I was like, all right, I know for a fact, not maybe, because I kind of did that with some of the other Metroid games, Metroid Fusion, for example, or Metroid Zero Mission. Like, okay, yeah, this one definitely could be, even Metroid Prime a little bit. I'm like, okay, yeah, maybe. But Metroid Dread, when I was playing it, I was like, no, this is the best. This is the best experience that I've ever gotten with Metroid. So Metroid Dread absolutely makes it onto my list here. It's easily one of the best action games, one of the best action platformers. It is an incredible experience and absolutely deserves to be on the list here. But what other action games did I miss that maybe aren't so much in the action RPG realm, but in the pure action realm? I would love to hear it, and we can make a part 2 if you guys bring up some great games. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell. We will see you for the next video. Peace.